Welcome to another episode of This Woman Works. I am your host, Mike Patton. And on this episode, I have a very, very special guest. She is a doctor. I don't know why I like to say that. But anyway, I have Dr. Danica Moore. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm great. How about you?
I'm doing just fine. Another day with walking on top of the ground. It said the ground on top of me, and the church said amen.
Amen.
All right. But yeah, we're going to get into your story, your journey to where you are currently. We're going to get to talking about fortified educational practices and more in just a moment. But up first on this episode, like we always do, Black Girl Magic Moment. And on this episode, I think it is very, very appropriate that we talk about Michelle Obama. Now, I will say this. Michelle Obama, when you look at her, she exhibits class, elegance, all those different things that you would see in a great woman. She also is a woman that is sharp with the tongue when she needs to be. Now, in the past, she has said for people to go low, go low, she go high, whatever. She said that, and I get that. But when she has to, she will definitely let it be known what time it is and when you need to be there to show up to hear it. So, I want to give her props because she played her role in terms of Barack and supporting him as president, but she also kept her identity and who she was and what she believed in and what she thought as well. And she played both roles seamlessly. Well, it wasn't both roles. She just played herself seamlessly in, his life and her life as well. And, I just wanted to take that time to shout her out, to show her appreciation for all the wonderful things that she has done, the way she has handled herself over the years of being in the public spotlight. I mean, I just have to salute that queen right there. Do you have anything you wanted to add?
I would definitely agree with all that. Her poise, her class. She looks like that person that's always going to have some receipts when they need to be produced. I think the biggest part about Madam Michelle Obama that I could really lean into was I had the chance to go experience the small Gullah Museum outside of Savannah, Georgia, and just the history of her family tied to the Gullah Islands and the story of her grandparents. Probably one of the most moving stories of a Black female icon of the current day that I could imagine, just like the continuing her family's legacy. So I really enjoyed that exhibit and the quilt that tells the story of her grandparents from the fields to the White House. Like that is a powerful, powerful exhibit that just hands down explains her drive, her determination, her perseverance. So if you've not seen that, I would definitely encourage anyone to go check that out in Georgia.
Now, I got a question. Does that mean she's Geechee?
It sounds like it based off the quilt. Her grandparents were married on a plantation under a tree. And so, yeah, her history goes back. And I did not know that. That was new to me in that museum. And so I was looking at the quilt like, wait a minute, what? So, yeah, I feel like I had never heard that before, but that is in her heritage. Absolutely. And she's just one generation, just her grandparents. That's where like they began there. So, yeah, it sounds like that is in the heritage for her.
Okay, well, that definitely explains the sharpness with the tongue for sure.
Yeah.
That definitely explains it. So, yeah, I learned something new today. You learned me. Thank you. Thank you.
Learn 7 things a day, they say, or I guess it's 7 vocab words, but put it together. Michelle Obama's Geechee, that's like five. So you got two more to go for the day.
Here we go. Here we go. I got to get on my journey. Okay, but speaking of getting on a journey, we're going to talk about your journey to becoming Dr. Danica Moore.
Ooh.
Now, I want to say, of course, any of those journeys, they all start from a child, from a beginning. And we got to go to your beginning. Where did
Right.
you grow up?
So I am a direct descendant of the small historical all black settlement, the only remaining one left of the west of Mississippi, Nicodemus, Kansas. And so my both sides of my family, grandparents on both sides, my great grandfather, all have roots and heritage there. So I was in and out of there as a child, but that's my roots. And so remaining in that area right there, tucked away by the Nebraska, Kansas, and Colorado border, moving throughout that region freely until I left for college. So yeah, so that's where my mother chose to raise her children. We never went too far from that area, but I remember even when we left, there were summers spent there. So being in a space where I was literally with three generations of family at all times, 13 great aunts, or 12, my grandma was a 13, just like that impact, like all black, everything built from the ground up, the first dugout, like just having that historical legacy to see it every single day playing in the park, with my cousins and siblings. So yeah, so that's my roots. And so that's how I got to see, a couple of things, what black community really looks like when it's for us, by us. The idea of taking things from ashes to pinnacles. I got to see it all, the church, the farming life, just everything that just done from scratch. And so I think, my background from that upbringing is it's always going to stay with me. But I think that everywhere I go, I carry that, and that's something that I always remember for myself whenever I feel like I'm not doing or making the impact. And I think back to those ancestors, because all those generations that raised me, they're all gone now. So as of last year, my grandpa's last sister passed, and so that's two generations now that I was used to seeing that are gone. So I carry them in my heart everywhere I go, and so a lot of that is what actually helped me found Fortified as well.
Okay. All right. All right. So I got to ask, how was it growing up there? Kansas. I mean, I'm
It
just
was
thinking about
free.
that. Like, mm,
Yeah, it was a very freeing experience. I didn't. Uh, it was one of those spaces. So like at HBCU, but made up of elders, for like, even when I was a kid, when we would come to visit in the summer. So being like 5, 6, and elders not really being elders at that time, but to me being elders. So like at HBC, it was just elders who were doing everything. But it was always like earning, like understanding. My grandma would say that you have to work to make a house a home. And I could say that it always felt like home going back, whether it was church. Mind you, there was always something to do, help with the dishes, clean some greens. There were things I hated, like my grandpa hated taking me fishing. He said I scared the fish away because I was always complaining about the bugs. I'm not an outdoorsy person. So it's like those memories and moments. So yeah, small town, small, very small community, but like the biggest piece was like everybody was working to build something together. So even though I'm not a small town person, I've always been like fast paced, want to get to the big city. Getting back there and just putting my feet on that ground is always a humbling moment, and something that I'm always going to get to do at least once a year if I can. So I try not to miss any opportunity to go back and return for like the annual homecoming, those kind of things. But yeah, it was a very, I would say that it's the definition of liberation for a black child to get to go there and experience it. For people who are used to just big city life, a space that only a couple mile, square mile radius. And so just imagine like a horde of black children just running free, and no one's wondering where they're at. And if you do, you just pick up the phone. Like my grandma might call my other grandma, like, have you seen the kids? Like, yeah, we saw them walking this way towards the creek about an hour ago. Like that level of liberation. And so even to go back now and people bring their families to watch children just running free, like, I'll be at the playground, dad. And so it's always unique watching people come in who've never been there, like, oh, I want to grab the kid's unattended, but it's like, nope, everybody's got eyes on them. And so I think that the word I could describe is it's liberation. It was the true definition of black joy for me as an adult looking back, that I probably lost as I got older, like getting into high school and those kind of things. But the chances to be there with my grandparents, my uncles, my aunts, my great aunts, like all of that, just liberating and free, just to hear those stories, to take those stories in. It's a moment that I probably hated as a kid. Sometimes I wanted more people, bigger space, but it definitely it's I wouldn't be here without it.
Okay. All right. All right. So within that community and within growing up there, I know there had to be some dreams and some things you wanted to do. What was one of the first things that you thought you wanted to be when you grew up?
A nurse. A second grade, I wanted to be a nurse. Anybody that asked me, I was going to be a nurse. And in that same year, I transitioned to an astronaut. Um, and then
Wow,
somehow
it's a
there
big
was this
transition.
yeah, and then somewhere in there I wanted to be a teacher, and then I put the three together before second grade was over, and I decided I was going to be an astronaut in space that taught nursing. Like we're going to need nurses in space. So in my little, I don't know, 6-year-old, 7-year-old self, I put together I was going to be a space nurse, astronaut, teacher of some sort. Like whatever this career was, I was going to find it. But yeah, I learned out quickly that science is not my best friend. So astronaut, physics, all that went out the door quickly. And astronomy actually bored me. So that went away. Nursing, I don't know what happened with nursing. I just didn't pursue it. And so my biggest passion was kids. So I landed with, I'm going to be a teacher.
Okay. So it sounded like, in a combination of all those, you wanted to be the black version of Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, but in space. So,
Probably because that's what my grandma made me watch. There was only one TV channel. So yeah, Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman was heavily on repeat. It was either that or Texas Walker Ranger or all 5,000 CBS soap operas. So of all of them, that's probably where that came from, was Dr. Quinn.
yeah, well, I know you knew who Shamar Moore was when you were growing up.
Oh yeah, he came to Nicodemus one time.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, I got to meet
Okay.
him when I was like in fifth or sixth grade, and I was pen pals with him my middle school years, decorated my locker in middle school with his letters and pictures. Have no clue where all those are at today. I think someone stole them. But yeah, so I got actually time to meet him, and we share the same last name. So there's that piece. If you ask my grandma, she'll say that there's a lineage in our family that ties to him through like
Mhm.
his great uncle. I don't know. Some families say that's not true. My grandma, I think that she always tells the truth. She knew what she was talking about, so she always knows some hidden things. So they say he is a descendant. So
Got you. Got you. Well, we got to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how you went from, I guess, like I said, the black Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman in space to fortified educational practices. When we come back from commercial break, we'll talk about that and more on This Woman Works.
EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash are two of the best beard grooming products for men worldwide. They help promote growth, keep your beard moisturized and soft, and enhance your overall upkeep of your facial hair. And with the new promo code MPAFC10, you can get 10% off all these products. Just go to www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. Again, that's www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. And again, the promo code MPAFC10. Again, MPAFC10, where you can get 10% off any products except for beard boxes. So treat your beard better today by going to get these the EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash.
All right, and we are back on This Woman Works. I know plenty are listening and wondering, why does he have a beard commercial on the show about black women? But
most ladies love it.
I'll say this, and I've said this pretty often. A lot of times, we as men do not take care of ourselves the best, and it comes to just everything. A lot of times, there is that woman that comes along, whether it's your niece, your sister, whoever, your cousin comes along and say, "Hey, why don't you take this? This will help you." So there we go. That's why the EBO Beard Butter commercial is on This Woman Works. Take with that as you may. And also the 10% off. You're welcome. So back to the show as well. Now, I mentioned before the break, fortified educational practices. Can you actually tell everyone who is not aware what fortified educational practices is?
Yes. So, Fortified Educational Practices is an educational consulting firm that specializes in intersectional racial equity leadership consultation. It started with the educational base and branding and has expanded to be able to support organizations across all different fields: education, city government, corporate, social organizations. And then it's like most recently in the past 3 years, it's stretched into the health field, specifically the mental and emotional health and wellness field. So yeah, so we are out here working and supporting, giving guidance and coaching for folks who are trying to develop themselves into being equitable organizations, whether it's through their hiring, policies, practices, procedures, strategic plans. So that is what we do, and that is who Fortified is.
All right. So, with that being said, when did you first kind of get this idea of fortified educational practices? When did it first kind of hit you?
So I was working in the Midwest. I was working in school network in the district office level, and there was a neighboring school. So I was like in the area. I was the first person to like be a pioneer in an equity facilitation role, like district office level for a school district. So during that second year, a lot of other folks around us started getting similar positions, and so I was being asked to go support folks at that level, going into other suburbs of that area and supporting people that are getting their feet on the ground in those roles. And then one school district asked me like if I could consult, and I was like, nope. And so then I got involved with hiring, helping with hiring at the collegiate level for education professors and being a representative on those committees at my alma mater, University of Kansas. And so that professor came in from Michigan and wanted to pilot this new course and came back and asked me to pilot it. And so I think building up that knowledge, working with college students for a couple semesters, it was 2 years worth of courses that I taught, getting to be an adjunct professor there. And then thinking like, okay, there's more here to it. But then so this idea of consulting, I saw I had phenomenal mentors and resources through spaces like the Courageous Conversation platform, lots of mentors. Tanisha Abdur Salam, shout out to her for just the support that she gave along the way for the work I was doing in one school district. And so this college class I taught my last year teaching, I had a student who asked me if I would reach out to her father, and her father was a principal. I reached out. He was also alum of the same school I was teaching at. And so I didn't know I thought it was a parent complaining about the class, wasn't quite sure. And I sent him an email the next day, or he emailed me the next day actually. And so she was taking her midterm, and he was saying like, the stuff that my daughter's doing, my staff in my building, like they need this. Like, do you consult? And I said, well, hadn't thought about it, but I think I can look into it. And so within about a month's time, they brought an entire team from Missouri to meet me in Kansas, just to talk through like what they need. Could I do it? And so they gave me a shot. I didn't have any organization behind me. It was just me, didn't even have a doctorate degree. And so I did a year just supporting this one school, the one high school. It wasn't their entire district, one high school, very large high school, working with administrative staff, coaching them, providing them support, giving them educational learning spaces. And from there, like after a year, I was like, you know what? I think I need to do something bigger. So I started brewing, like, what could this be? How do I achieve it? So, this space of fear dragging my feet. And then finally giving it a name, but I just literally made the name official with the state, but then didn't do anything with that, let that sit. So it was a really slow process for me, mostly because of fear. Like, what could this be? What if it fails? Like, what if I don't find more people to partner with? And so just that start from that administrator, from having his daughter in my college course, like that's how I got the first shot to get into this space. Was someone sought me out because of a class I was teaching. And it was a class I didn't even write. I didn't write the syllabus for it either.
Okay.
Yeah, very, very different. So I did 3 years just doing this work with just my name, no business backing it, no company, no nothing, just me.
Wow, wow, that is a definitely a journey to where you want to go. And of course, before I get going on the next question, of course, we had Brian stop through to say good morning to everyone. And then
Hey.
we also had Tracy Bates come through with a comment and said, "Good morning. Enjoy the show with Dr. Danica Moore. Shout out to Nicodemus, Kansas." So she knows a little something about there.
Yeah, that's a big cousin right there.
Okay. All right. All right. So getting a little bit more into Fortified and your journey there. Um Can you how do you remember when you kind of first made the commitment to do it in terms of like in your mind, like, okay, this is going to be it. I've got this now. People are coming along. And yeah, I
Yeah.
know you said you faced the
I
fears,
remember the
but
exact day and moment. I'm not even going to pretend like I don't. It was August 4th, 2021. I was getting ready to launch a new school year, and there were just some significant changes that were going to affect my role that were crashing down. And there were some interactions that didn't sit well with me. And one of my colleagues and close mentors, Miss Annette Canoli, would always say, like, when your soul doesn't feel like it's supposed to be there, it's time to go. And I had dragged my feet for a couple years, like it's time to make this big jump. And so August of that year, I walked into HR and said, "Listen, this isn't going to work for me. I don't really have a plan. There's too much going on here. I don't think this is for me." And so I asked to be part-time that year, sacrificing, half my salary and doing all these things and working only a couple days a week just to be able to give myself some grounding. And in that time, stuff just began taking off. Someone asked me for help with like, what kind of questions should we ask to find ourselves a really good consultant? I gave some guidance. They went off on their own. And then after a couple months of searching, they came back and said, we took all your guidance and we thought it was great guidance, but there's no one doing that. Like, can you just come do it for us? And so clientele just began building up. And so it's funny because everybody thought that I stepped away just to do that work. And it was like, no, I was stepping away to catch a mental break and to be able to figure out where my place was going to be. And then stuff just appeared, stuff began popping up. There was just opportunity after opportunity. And then from there, so I finished that year part-time, in 2022 hit. And I knew, like, this is it. Like, I'm stepping all the way out of, working under one person's domain. And I'm going to go into spaces with people who really want to do this work, do it well, do it intentionally, do it authentically. And so then it was like, okay, so I was getting my doctorate, finishing up being hooded that year. And I made a commitment that the day that I'm hooded, there will be an entire organization that will be launched, and I'm going to go fully fledged into this. I have the knowledge now. I got a credential in front of my name. I can do it now. So that was like the final boost of confidence, was like getting that doctorate locked in, getting that hood put on me, and saying like, now it's time. It's go time.
definitely, definitely. And you're helping a lot of people to do business the right way and to develop business the right way in terms of, the things that you do. But I do have to ask, do you remember who your first client was?
Yes, I do.
How did that experience go? Your first client, and if you want to mention who it is or not, that's fine with me. Whatever you want to do.
So I call him Dr. Dale. Um, Dr. Dale was like, he wasn't hands off. He was behind the scenes. Like, okay, what do you need? I'm going to do it. I remember sitting down, like saying, hey, like, I don't have a company. It's just little old me. I don't have anything else. Like, are you sure that, like, because with the kind of work I do, some people need like an insurance liability police in place, and I didn't have any of that. And so I called up my good sister friend Marlicia and just said, hey, I know you do this stuff full time on the East Coast. You're knocking out the park. What do I do? Like, what happens if I make a mistake? And she said, well, go sit that man down and let him know, like, are you going to vouch for me? And so I went to him and I said, listen, I got some guidance, and I'm supposed to tell you that if you don't vouch for me, this can't work. And Dr. Dale looked at me, he said, oh, I got you. So after like the first maybe 6 months or so, he came and he's like, listen, I got to tell you, I'm on my way out, headed for retirement. He said, but I just need to tell you one thing. He's like, you gotta take these prices up. Like, you're shortchanging yourself. And I was like, what? And so he says, no, like, I know companies that are doing trash work like this to get the paycheck. He's like, you are shortchanging yourself. And so I was like, oh, well, I can't take it up too much, like might lose people. And so just like those initial steps of like, I thought I was doing some great stuff. felt good about it. But then it's like, yeah, you're out here competing with the big dogs and charging like, hourly wages. Like, this isn't going to work. Like, get yourself, like, know your worth. And so for this man to tell me that, I was like, okay, Dr. Dale said, know my worth. All right, back to the table we go. But yeah, I do remember, I remember meeting him when he walked in with this team. And it was like this moment of like, he brought some big power force with him in that meeting. There were like assistant superintendents that walked in with him. It was it was like a bus of people they brought out. It wasn't just like a carload, it was a bus. And this team walked in, and the line just kept coming. They filled in this room, and I'm just sitting there like, oh, like he brought a team. And so it's like, we would talk to you. But yeah, just that feeling of like someone believing that I could do it, like just from seeing his daughter's textbook from class, like, I know you can do this. Like, I'll vouch for you to superintendent, who you want me to talk to, the board, whatever we got to do. And so he did just that. But no, I will always remember him because his daughter actually is in education now. She checks in every year. And so we still talk about this start of like this class, because the joke about the whole thing is she came to me and what she said was, hey, my dad wants to talk to you. In college world, that equals a parent has a complaint. We don't deal with parent complaints in college about courses, right? And so I said, you're an adult now, so if your dad has a complaint, you can speak for yourself. And she said, no, I don't think that's what he wants. He just wants, and so the way she was tiptoeing around it, I thought she was trying to play matchmaker. And I was like, I need you to go sit down, take your midterm. I don't mingle with people's parents. Like, have a seat, please take your test. And so then to find out that that's what it was, I still laugh about this day. Like, I remember telling people like, yeah, I think my student tried to hook me up with her dad yesterday in class. And then the next day he emailed like, this is what I need. I was like, oh, that's not okay. Great. Like, so yeah. Now Dr. Dale might not know that full story, but me and his daughter, we share that laughing moment often.
All right. And one last question in this, talking about the business as well. Everyone has that defining moment that they know that that's where they're supposed to be. When can you say that was that defining moment for you? Like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is my purpose here.
Man. I don't know like when I fully locked that in. Maybe somewhere October 2022, I was attending a conference in DC, facilitated a workshop, and the number of people, oh yes, that was it. That's the moment when I knew I was like officially like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I led a session, and it was almost like the final release that I had to get out of me, like the content of that session, and just all of these Black women staying back to give me hugs and tell me like, you're where you're supposed to be. Like, we got you. And then at that same conference, it was my third time getting to hear Dr. Gloria Ladson Billings speak. And so just having that affirmation, because she's also an icon that I've always aspired towards, like her work in higher education. So I've always been motivated by her. So it was like everything just kind of aligned that day for me. So there was a lot of tears shed. Like, I think I'm finally here. I'm okay with where I'm at. No more fear. So I would say that it was that next fall. So moving on my own in 2021, 2022, and that next year, 2022, just locking in all the way of just, we got this.
Gotcha. Okay. And that bell means it's time for the next round. No, I'm just joking. But we are going to take a commercial break, though. And when we come back, we're going to talk about, some different challenges that you may have encountered and some advice as well. That and more when we come back for the commercial break on This Woman Works.
A shift. A shift is something that happens and changes the dynamics. And that's what happened when Garrett Logistics was born. After 10 years as a sales pro in the logistics world of sporting goods, John Garrett decided to pivot to the world of freight and start a brokerage. So you're saying to yourself, why trust Garrett Logistics? Well, Garrett Logistics helps shippers improve overall workflow, along with increased on-time pickup and delivery percentages. Last-minute loads, multi-drop pickups, and more are part of the services with Garrett Logistics. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., all times Central Standard Time. So give them a ring at 615-400-8484. That's 404-8484, or you can email them at john@garrettlogistics.co or visit their website at garrettlogistics.co. Garrett Logistics, where the motto is, it's not just freight to us, it's your business.
All right, we are back on This Woman Works. And Dr. Danica Moore, I know there's been some challenges along the way. Nothing ever comes easy when starting your own business, and especially a business such as yours. So, what are some of the challenges that you have faced as a Black woman who, does your business and does what you do?
Yeah, I would say probably the first challenge I hit, that first client towards the end of that long-standing partnership, in the transition. Like there was a couple of things. I mean, they got put in some major media, like just some really negative attention, and so being able to stand in that space with them. And then I would say the biggest thing was, they're going through all this slander, like national media attention over a couple events that happened in their school and district space, and just like all the minimizing of what I could do from their top executive leadership, because again, I wasn't working with the whole network. I was just in one school. So while that one school was vouching for what I could do, their top support, like the top executives, are telling those leaders in the school, like, no, we're not doing anything she says, we're going to do this. And I just kept watching this media get worse and worse and worse. And finally, I wouldn't say it was a scathing email, but I finally sent an email to their superintendent, like, listen, you don't know me, but what I'm watching, like, this is nonsense. Like, I can help you through this, but like, I need you to step out of the way. Like, do you want my help or not? And so I remember like just the pushback. And so I was watching a divide happen between their staff and feeling like, man, like I was just waiting for someone to, just say the name of Fortified in the news article, like, and then they work with Fortified and this is happening. Like, I thought they were doing real work over here. And so just like that cringe feeling of like at any moment, someone who partners with me can do something that like goes against or gets perceived against the values that Fortified stands for. And then that's my organization's name in the limelight of being like something that it's not meant to be. But I think that like getting over those small humps, because it happens. There are a lot of people who do not want to see true equity happen in any space, whether it's a school space, a hospital space, a corporate space. And so they take information and they flip it and turn it. And so, yeah, I was the bad person for a while. I even had a whole media stint that involved the Kansas City Chiefs, because I had sent some things out for schools around what not to do for Native culture appropriation of teams that have mascots. And it got flipped as like, they're about to go to the Super Bowl. And I was all over the media, like, this lady in this school network is anti-football. Like, that was the message that got spun against the NFL. So it was my picture, my name. But yeah, and so just those small humps. So like when people don't believe in what you believe in, when all you're simply trying to do is make sure people get what they need, the basic rights of being able to live a full life and have access to resources. When people don't believe that and are willing to go above and beyond just to twist it. And I think the most hurtful part was like the information that the resources I sent out were forwarded from someone in that school network to the media just to be able to reach me. Still an unknown person this day, but like that's the only way it could have got there, right? So just those moments of just like wanting to cower back. I remember that specific moment, just staying in my house for weeks and people calling to check on me and making sure I was good. And like people saying the media was looking for me at work that day. In my office, like the media's out front, they're trying to find you, they want to talk about this, but no. And then it was all over Facebook and social media, just like all the macro aggression. She talks like a man. Like I remember like the biggest mistake of reading the comments, just reading the comments and being like, oh, now we're in a real dark space. And it was weeks of this, like weeks of it. And the people that lived in me, I remember getting phone calls from other states, like on my voicemails in my office, like, hey, I'm from Minnesota. We saw what you're doing. Keep up the great work. But then at the same time, there was the other noise on the other side making the same same phone calls to my public office number, giving me a whole different earful of just like, taking this risk if I got to play the voicemail or not. And then thinking like, it's just me. So when this happens, who am I supposed to go to, right? But like I said, I had a great network of colleagues and former coworkers that are now like sisters and friends and mentors. So being able to know that they were going to lift me up in this space, like we see what you're wanting to do, what you're trying to do, but it didn't feel great in those moments ever, and they always seem to last for a really long time. But on reality, it wasn't as long as it thought. But I just remember thinking, like, this might be the time for me to step out of this. Like, this might not be what I want to do.
Got you. But the positive thing that came out of that is your crew basically lifted you up. So I was going to ask you, how did you kind of overcome it? But it sounds like your crew actually was very, very instrumental in you keeping going forward and keeping doing what you do. And very thankful that you are doing what you do and you did not give up or let the naysayers say whatever. Because a lot of times the naysayers come for, Black women. They do. And it's unfortunate. And to me, I think it's a lot of times wrong and misguided. But, unfortunately, it does happen. And, it's definitely a great thing that you had a great support system there with you.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you've said a mouthful when it comes to business and how you got into business and things you've overcome. But what bit of advice have you received in the business that has kind of helped you keep going forward and keep remembering your purpose and where you're heading with all the things that you're doing?
Oh, there's a whole lot of things there. I think there's the mindset mentorship side, and then there's the business logistics side, right? So I was blessed to just have contacts and resources who were navigating businesses of their own of all different kinds, not anyone in this field specifically, but like working with a business advisor who was able to tell me like, like give me your biggest dream. Like, where do you, if you could make this at the top? And so and sit with me and like tell me that vision, okay, let's look at the plan to get there, right? Because some people would just tell you like, that's really big, like that's a bit far-fetched, let's just start with where we're at today. Like, you have 2 client organizations working with you, so let's start small. But no, she let me talk about the biggest vision possible, and then let's walk it backwards and figure out where we're at and how we get there. I would say that was a big part, was having a business advisor who was someone I did not know before this work, but getting in connection with her and having her support, knowing that she had launched a nationwide company. And then on the other side, I had so many resources and mentors who would remind me every day of just my purpose, my passion, my skill set. And lots of people who stand in the work of people such like the words of Audre Lorde, like remembering what Audre Lorde's work was about for women, women of color, being unsilenced, breaking the yokes of silence. So I think that people that would send me quotes like that from Audre Lorde, like that was the biggest thing of like, when it's critical, it's in you. But I would say the biggest thing that I always come back to is when my mentor and friend and colleague Annette Cannoli said, when it kills your soul, to go. And so right now I feel like I hold on to, because my soul is being very nourished right now, what I do, just the liberation I have to fully be me and push for the things that I know can help people. And I think about the kids I tell people everything I do is for children. So I have a beautiful nephew, 14, just started high school. And then I have a goddaughter. I have lots of kids who I take in as like my friends' children that I love and care on. So when I think about what I'm doing for them, like I ask myself the question, who would I not want to see in the room in those moments I feel like giving up? And I think about all these children that are like watching, because I said I wanted to make an impact on the world for the children that are here now.
Okay. All right. And one last question I have is, in this segment, I should say, one last question I have. What advice do you have for someone that may want to, kind of go down the same path as you do? But before you answer that, let me also acknowledge the comments in the This Woman Works, inbox. Of course, we got one comment that says "Fortified Education Strong!" Exclamation point. The truth keeps you free. Love you, baby girl. I don't know who that is, but can you tell everyone who that is?
That is my mother.
I did not want to mispronounce her name, so if you
It's
can.
Twyla Berry.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I didn't want to mispronounce names, and I was pretty sure that she was somebody important to you with the comments that were going on in there.
Yeah.
And of course, she had another comment for you too, though. She said, "Fortified education strong, keeping it real, remaining free."
Yeah. She, if you can't tell, that's my biggest cheerleader right there. Like biggest cheerleader.
I can tell, and she definitely said it with some force because she put it in all caps now. All right.
Loves all caps. Love
All
you,
right
Mom.
now. All right. And what, like I said before I went to the comments, what advice do you have for someone that may want to do what you do?
I would definitely say this line of work. I think anytime you take that big leap and go on your own, there is a level of spirituality, like a hint of divineness that has to be covering you to make that dive. And so with that, I always think of there is a song, I believe it's by Jay Moss. It says, I'm tired of living life my face not strong enough. And so I would say, like, whatever that governing um, deity is that is over you, that empowers you, that you embody, like lean into that, because that's what's going to be what gets you through. Like whether it's, when you go on your own at this kind of quest, there's, financial things can come up. There's, things that are going to test and challenge your morals and your ethics. There's going to be naysayers. But I think above all, ground yourself in some level of spiritual being. And that's what makes all the difference. I would say that is what's made the biggest difference for me, is having a grounding of that kind. And most importantly, knowing your core values. Like when you are establishing a business of any kind, if you don't know your core values, then whatever you're trying to build from the ground up, it will move any which way based off any small feedback you get, one negative naysayer. So you have to know your core values, spell them out, define them for yourself, name them what you have to. They may not be words that are typical for a core value, but you really have to name them for yourself and then build based off of that.
Definitely very, very informative, very empowering to hear your journey, all the things, the great, wonderful things that you have accomplished and done, and just the never-ending fight that you have to make the world a better place for everyone that is in it. But of course, we do have to have a little fun on this show too.
Yay.
And and we've got the speed round. I've got 10 questions for you in the speed round. They are totally random. For those that are listening and watching, Dr. Danica Moore does not know what these questions are, so this ought to be fun. All right. So first one, favorite movie of all time.
Oh man. Golly. Baps.
Baps. Oh, okay. All right. That's a first for me. I have not heard Baps, but hey, yeah, that movie was, they're talking about remaking that movie. Somebody's talking about remaking that movie.
They should leave it alone.
Yeah, I know. A lot of them, they need to leave alone. Who would play you in a biopic of your life?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I like to go all out and say Michelle Obama. Someone told me I looked like her one time. I think they needed glasses, but I like just from that comment, Michelle Obama could have the role.
Okay. All right. Who's your favorite actress?
I'm a huge Viola Davis fan. I don't know, something about Viola. I just feel like I would love to see her and people like Michelle Obama collaborate on something together. Yeah, I really enjoy her, from Scandal to, Fences to just, yeah, something about Viola Davis gets me. And I would say that she wasn't like, before Scandal came out, didn't know much, couldn't have told you who she was. But from the moment of Scandal came on the scene or not Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, I'm sorry. How to Get Away with Murder, and then moving that forward, I've just been moved by everything she does, her book, any, speeches she's given for awards, anything like that. So yeah, Viola Davis.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think the realness of Viola Davis is what pulls everybody in, especially the realness away from her acting. That
Hmm.
I think is what pulls a lot of people in, and she definitely is one of my favorites. Favorite song you're listening to right now? That can
Goodness.
be anything because I've gotten some answers here. So
Uh, Gosh, favorite song to listen to right now. I don't think I know. I mean, I'll be real generic. So I really dig the background of "They Not Like Us," Kendrick Lamar. I but what I'm really loving right now, it's not simply that "They Not Like Us," it's all the freestyles getting put on top of that beat. Like it's the beat, it's the rhythm. So definitely would say that one for sure. Like that's,
okay.
when you get tired of the song, you remix it and you add something else to it. So I appreciate all the remixes and for the freestyles.
Gosh, I'm over here listening to the let's see, the Lucky Day album, new Lucky Day album. I'll
Mm.
probably listen to that. I don't know how many times. Um, the worst movie of all time that
Oh
you.
goodness, there's so many. I will I will say the worst movie that I've ever seen in my adult is really paying attention. I would say the movie Slate. I don't know if you remember that movie, but literally was convinced to watch that in theaters. And to this day, I'm still waiting for all the people that told me to go see it to reimburse me my $11.55. Like I just thought like so.
Oh my goodness, I'm trying to figure out who was in that movie.
I can't even think of his name. He's a singer. Uh, but it was that one where like he had this like battery pack thing in his arm that gave him superpowers, but that was the most random movie ever. But everyone just kept saying it was so great. I'm gonna have to look
I'm
it
gonna
up.
think on that one. I'm looking it up myself. I'm trying to think on that one. I'm like
I
Slate
can't think
movie.
of his name. It's Sleight is how you spell it, not SLAT.
Slate movie. I've never heard of that movie. Never heard of that movie. Who's the cast of this movie? I'm sorry. I'm just. Oh, Jacob Lattimore was in this
Yes,
movie.
thank you. Him. Yeah, horrible movie. Horrible movie.
I've I've never heard of that movie. I've literally never heard of
Like
that
when
movie.
it came out, so many people, free weekend, everybody should go see Slate. Didn't even go see Slate. No, went see Slate and walked out livid. Like couldn't even believe. Like if that had been before pandemic, like that needed to go straight to Amazon Prime or somebody's free channel. Like I just don't know how anybody pays. I don't think any money got made off that movie to be honest, but it was horrible. Like it was absolutely horrible.
All right. One person, dead or alive, you'd like to sit down and have dinner with.
One person dead or alive. Oh man.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would love to meet Gwendolyn Brooks, poet, Jersey poet. Um, just admired her from high school. I'm big into poetry and spoken word. My high school forensics coach convinced me to do one of her pieces for uh, poetry and prose and forensics in high school, and even got me a coach to help me learn the Jersey accent, which I did not pick up well. And like within a week of doing this piece, Gwendolyn Brooks died. I told my coach
Mm.
that like he probably like by making me do the piece probably helped me like since she probably went to her grave like livid about this accent of trying to do this piece. So but I always loved her work, so I would love to sit down with her and just talk about poetry and words and how she gathered her words and what they meant to her, her inspirations for her writing.
Okay. All right. Um, something no one would expect to know about you.
Hmm. Let's see here.
We got
Uh,
one a minute ago, but
which one was that? Oh, we're at the my heritage.
no,
Um,
it's the poetry. I didn't
Gotcha.
know that one.
Yeah. Okay, so when I when I was 17, just got out of high school, told my mom that my friend was picking me up to come take me to the bank. We drove to a bank in Houston, Texas, a whole 14, 16-hour drive. I was gone for about 5 days, didn't call my mom at all. My friend was already 18. It's time for me to get 2 additional piercings. I came back home like nothing had happened. And so I'm laying on my bed. It was a whole scene out of Sister Act 2 when Rita's laying on the bed and her mom comes in there. So I'm on my bed and my mom notices these new piercings in my ears and she was like, wait a minute, what is that? So yeah, I told her we were going to the bank. We went to the bank to get money so we go to Houston. And so he had a car he could drive. And so that's what we did. So we dipped. I was gone for 5 days. And so there was no discussion. There was no check-ins while I was gone, no phone calls. I just disappeared at the age of 17. So, but yeah, it was my first, like, I would say like high school teenage vacation. And I loved every minute of
it. Oh, somebody commented as well, said, what big fun. Yeah. For those that don't know,
big fun. Yes.
Yeah. For those that don't know, watch the Cosby Show and you'll understand where big fun comes from. Let's see. The next question I got for you, your best childhood memory.
My brother and I, we captured this stray dog. I don't remember when it was a huge black lab. And so we found some rope and made like a harness. And we used to just like try to ride this dog around Nicodemus in the summer. We named the dog and everything. I feel like it was like Cassie. It was something ending in IE. My grandpa absolutely was just distraught. Like he would tell us the dog had rabies, but yeah, this dog would come back to us all the time. We'd find it. But yeah, like me and my younger brother, moments like that, like roping big stray dogs and trying to ride them like horses. We made a tree house and carved our initials in it. Tried to go find that same tree this past 2 summers ago and discovered it was cut down. But yeah, I would say like those memories. My cousin, well, there was always music. I would say another favorite memory is when the fields would flood from heavy rain in Nicodemus. We would wade in the fields like it was like a big swimming pool for us. And my cousin Loree would make up these little ditties, and she wrote this little ditty, and we would sing all the time. It's like, relax and let the water take you away. That's all you have to do, relax. And then the song started over. We would sing it all the time. So those are my favorite child memories.
Nice. A little wade in the water moment in the fields.
Pretty much, okay. In my I would not set foot in water I can't see the bottom of. So that's a moment of the past that we'll have to cherish, because me swimming in brown water, nope.
All right. Best food spot you've been to?
Ever, or in a specific, like in Nashville?
Oh, you can say either in Nashville or wherever you've been.
Okay. Best food spot ever. I did the Stish in the Bush excursion in the mountains of Jamaica. Absolutely amazing. Like I didn't even know what that was. The Stish in the Bush, people talk about it. Got to experience it last September. Hands down, the best food I've ever had in my life. And I don't eat vegan or vegetarian, but like the ITAL lifestyle that was like, Dr. Sebi, a lot of Rastafarians do that as well. Like that, the cuisine was just nothing like it ever. So yes, I would say Stish in the Bush in Jamaica.
All right, I'm gonna have to note that one for future reference.
Yes, go to Jamaica. Reservation.
Best vacation spot you've ever been
to? Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got to go there New Year's Eve. I've heard about their New Year's Eve celebrations.
Yes, I did. The return home 2018. So left the day after Christmas and came back January 3rd. So yes, awesome experience. The history, the learning, the liberation. There was so much in that trip for me. It was beyond just a vacation. I also went to put like the final piece on. I just need to go somewhere to grieve my grandmother passing. And that was the space that gave me solace with that whole grief process. So yeah, Ghana.
Okay. All right. We have reached the end of the speed round. I want to thank you for coming on the show, Dr. Danica Moore, founder of Fortified Educational Practices. And we also have a comment in the This Woman Works inbox. Of course, says, thank you for all the work that you do, Dr. Moore. That's Rita Riles. Okay. Good gracious. Just mispronounced her name.
We got it. We're good.
All right. And I want to turn the floor over to you to tell everyone where they can find you, where if you can find you on social media, where they can find you in general, and all the great and wonderful work that you're doing and continuing to do to make the world a better place.
Yes, absolutely. So the website for Fortified Educational Practices is fortified.org. It's the number 4, TIFIED.org. And then also we have a platform on Twitter, so Fortified EP on Twitter as well.
Okay. All right. Well, I will say I am the host of This One Works, Mike Patton. You can find me on, you're gonna like this. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter, Word to Prince, at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82 on, again, the artist formerly known as Twitter. You can also find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE, _general _MP. Of course, you can find This Woman Works now. I'm sorry that I haven't announced this on the show, but now you can find This Woman Works not only on Spotify, not only on YouTube with the Mike Patton Network, but you can now find it on iHeartRadio. You can now find it on Apple Podcast. You can now find it on Amazon Music. So yes, more places to find This Woman Works. Yes, we're moving on up in the world. Yes, we are.
That's huge.
Thank you. So, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in, supporting the show. You had a lot of comments. Hold on, let me go get these comments real quick. I said that was great, Dr. Moore. That is K Nicole. It's Riles. Good gracious, I messed that up again. And then of course we have Tracy Bates. Thank you, Mike, for interviewing the amazing Dr. Danica Moore. The pleasure was all mine. And she provided the time. I've just provided the space. That's all.
So grateful. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you. And thank you all for tuning in to this episode of This Woman Works with your host, Mike Patton. We're out. Peace.